begin with you, Gina, on this because California is arguing that deploying Marines, deploying the National Guard for civilian law enforcement in the way that we see right now, including accompanying ICE agents on these different raids, is illegal. What's your take?
I disagree with that respectfully. However, I don't agree with Trump's decision. Under Title 10, if you have a rebellion, an invasion, or there's incidences that prevent the enforcement of the laws, you can nationalize the National Guard. You can also find an exception under the Insurrection Act to call out the Marines. But what you have to do is have a responsible president who is very cautious, objective, and doesn't use it to politicize an issue. And that concerns me here that Donald Trump is doing that.
Monique, President Trump has not invoked the Insurrection Act yet. We don't know if he actually will or not, but the idea of trying to nationalize in this way. We do see images tonight that appear to show National Guard troops who are assisting the ICE troops in their raids, if not effectuating arrests themselves. What authorities do those troops have? It's not akin to a police officer.
No, they're not trained to be police officers. They're not supposed to be police officers. This country was founded upon principles that actually are supposed to be keeping us from being a military state, which is why, respectfully, I disagree. I believe that what President Trump is doing now is trying to, without actually invoking the Insurrection Act, get the military in place, which he's already doing, and that makes it unlawful. He knows he doesn't have what's necessary, or the people around him, I don't know who's making the decisions, know that they don't have what's necessary. Any protest could technically be considered something that's keeping somebody in the administration or in government from doing some lawful, like that's what a protest is. But if the protest is peaceful, and if the local and state law enforcement officers can handle those who are not peaceful, then there's no reason whatsoever to bring in National Guard. I mean, the law says shall, not should, not could, not would. So it really is come for us when we call you, and that's not what happened here. So now we've got a state suing the government again. But then beyond that, with the Marines using our military, the level of fright that is, I know you saw Mayor Bass talking about it, talking about how people are literally afraid just in their homes, not in the streets as protesters, but just not knowing what's going to happen next. And that's why we have these laws in place, so that citizens are not afraid of the military, are not afraid of their own government.
Well, you know, there could be an argument, just playing devil's advocate, where they might say, well, that very fear that they're experiencing is because there's an absence of law enforcement that they think will take care of and dissolve the protests. Because, of course, law enforcement's role is not to suppress free speech. It is supposed to maintain the public order, as we know. But the judge so far in the preliminary injunction has not said, okay, we're enjoining it. They're waiting until Thursday.
Well,
why?
I think the judge wants to hear both sides. And I know we respectfully disagree. I'm not saying that Trump made the right decision. What I am saying is, under the statute and the exception under the Insurrection Act, he does have fulsome and broad powers. I think he's abusing them. In 1992, President H.W. Bush legitimately called out the Marines, invoked that exception to the Posse Comitatus Act for the Rodney King thing. He legitimately did that. The governor supported it. Mayor Bradley supported it. Here, it's just raw political theater. He's ignoring Gavin Newsom. He's ignoring Mayor Bass. So
if Governor Gavin Newsom, for example, had said, I want this, would your legal argument go away?
If Governor Newsom said to President Trump, I want the Marines, I want the National Guard, I would shut up, because I would think there'd be a legitimate reason, because you got the person on the ground, the governor, and I assume the mayor would agree with the governor. We need the National Guard, we need the Marines. We don't have anything close. I was looking at those photos, and there's like 300 people protesting, and hardly anybody's doing anything other than holding up a sign. Now, was there a car put on fire? Yes. But General Anderson, who you just had on, he was magnificent. What he said was, when they join the military, they're not joining the military to help ICE agents arrest people here illegally. They're joining the military to go fight foreign wars. And it's putting the military in a very uncomfortable position being a cop. And they're not trained to do that.
Really quick?
Well, I was just going to say, I think the judge made the right decision because the standard is immediate, irreparable harm. And as Jean's just said, when you look at the pictures, I mean, the National Guard, the military, they're sleeping on floors, they're standing around, they don't have any orders. So it would be hard to make a case for immediate irreparable harm. But on Thursday, the judge will listen and decide whether the right action was taken by the executive branch. And I believe that the judge will side with the state of California.
There's a novelty at play right now. We'll see how it all unfolds. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Much more in our